everyone. I'm Susie.
And I'm Rachel.
And you're listening to the Gilmore Gab.
Okay, so it is the Gilmore Gab.
That's right.
Episode 2.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about Lorelai Gilmore.
Yes, we are.
Because we talked about Rory last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lorelai. Bless her heart.
Lorelai the second.
That's right. She is the second Lorelai Gilmore. I love her gran, but we're not talking about her gran today.
Or the fact that the actress who played her gran then plays the aunt later.
Yes.
But anyway.
Oh my gosh. I love how they reuse actors.
Oh, it's great.
And I mean, Kirk is a whole episode.
Oh my gosh, Kirk. I'm so excited.
That's going to be a good
Kirk
one
at some point. But we got to get through the main cast.
That's right. Lorelai.
Okay.
I love Lorelai. I feel like for the most part, she's probably one that I relate to. I don't want to say the most, but I relate to her pretty well. The first time I watched the show, I did relate to her a lot, but I also think I was the same age as her the first time I watched it because I was in, just kidding. I was in my 20s when I watched it, but I did rewatch it when I was about in my early 30s. And I feel like I related a lot to Lorelai at that time. And I like that she is fun and relatable and all that. I think I mentioned this in our last episode. Her and Rory's relationship is not realistic at all. And
no.
It doesn't work in real life. But for the sake of the story, it's...
Yeah. I was like 18 the first time I watched Gilmore Girls. And so I did very much naively enjoy Rory. And I liked their relationship between Lorelai and Rory. Like, I never didn't like Lorelai.
Uh-huh.
And even with this more recent rewatch as a mom and, in my 30s, I'm just like... There are things where I'm like, no, I still like Lorelai, but I definitely made some notes about things that I was like, this is the problem with Lorelai. And it's not nearly as like negative as everything I thought about Rory, but it's definitely just those moments of like how oblivious she is. Like Luke never hid his feelings for her.
Not once.
Everybody around Lorelai was like, Luke likes you. Luke likes you. And she's always like, no, he doesn't. I'm just an annoying lady who gets coffee. He doesn't like me. And and we'll talk about Luke, obviously. But like, for me, it was like, how are you your own daughter can see it.
Yeah.
Why are you so oblivious?
Yeah. Well, and like the fact that like when she calls Suki and Suki is going into Luke's, when she breaks up with Max, when she just runs away from Max, right? And she calls Suki and is like, hey, I ran away. I'll be back. Can you let people know?
Basically tell Miss Patty and Babette and everybody will know.
Yeah. And she gets off the phone and she's in Luke's and Luke's like, who is that? And she's like, it was Lorelai. She broke up with Max. And then Luke immediately is like, free drinks for everyone. It's just coffee, but still. He was like over the moon about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, and again, we really can't get into Luke because there's a lot of really great things about Luke, but
that's because he's the best.
He is. But it's the first question everyone always asks Lorelai whenever there's a situation. Well, did you tell Luke? Does Luke know? And even at a certain point, she's like, I'm afraid to go tell Luke this. Like, if nothing else, she at least acknowledges that there is an established relationship there that is more than friendship, where she feels obligated to share with him things that you wouldn't normally share with just a random diner guy, or your friend who owns the diner. Like, I can't remember exact moments of this though, but I know there were just some things where it's like, that's really odd that you want to make sure you tell Luke. Yeah. And even Rory was the same way, where like if something happened and she's like, but can we still go to Luke's diner? Have you told him? Like, why are you afraid to tell him? Whatever it was, every time she had a breakup, every time she was in a new relationship, she was always afraid to tell Luke.
Yeah.
But she doesn't think he likes her. She doesn't like him. Like, come on.
That was probably the most unbelievable part of this entire series. But Lorelai had no idea about Luke's feelings for her. Also, their timeline is askew.
Oh, so askew.
So askew. Because, like, she's been living in that town when we start the series for 16 years, basically.
But that timeline is also incorrect. And actually, so there's a TikToker who I think I've sent you a few of her videos where she used to be the key costume designer.
Yes.
And somebody asked her that question because it turns out that they actually didn't move to Stars Hollow until Rory was about 1 or 2.
That's right, because they lived at the inn.
Well, but they before that she stayed with the Gilmores.
That's right.
Until Rory was about
Emily
1 or 2.
was like, Rory's toys are still out. Like, we need to put those away. But she like left.
And so that kind of, but what I think her name is Valerie, the key costume designer, what she said was that because of the way episodes got released at the time, the idea was you would just kind of forget because it'd be a week or 2 or when there was the holiday break, or it just was so long between episodes that nobody thought about streaming and binge watching.
Or even how we watch everything now.
Yeah. Or even when they put them on the DVDs, like it was hard to catch it, I guess. And so they didn't really think about the timeline being skewed. But they also, like, when you do a new show, you can't, like, anything that was in the pilot can't necessarily be guaranteed or be like canon for the rest of it, simply because they didn't know if they'd get picked up. But yeah, no, the whole timeline is askew, especially like when we talk about Luke and how did Lorelai not know who Rachel was?
Yeah. Because she was living down. Those are like, in my head, it's because she is oblivious.
Oh, 100%.
And like because she, in her mind, I feel like Luke was a part of her life. He had to have been, because he was there for Rory's early birthdays. You know, like he was there when she was learning to ride a bike. Like he has been. And this comes up with Christopher when he's like, where were you when she had chickenpox? Where were you when she was sick with this? Where were you when she moved into her high school graduation, and when she moved into her dorm, and we moved her mattress into the dorm
and out of the dorm and into the dorm? Yeah. Luke was literally Rory's like stand-in father.
Yeah.
That was the father figure that from her earliest memories, he has been there.
Yeah.
So for Lorelai to be like, nah, he's just that guy that works at the diner and I'm just the annoying lady who orders coffee. Like, why are we gaslighting ourselves, Lorelai? Why?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. And like her relationships in general, I think it's funny because she talks about how she's never invited a guy into the house until Max.
Mm-hmm.
And even with Max, he's like barely allowed in the house. Let's be real.
Well, it's weird.
Weird.
Can we talk about that for a moment, though? Because I made this note. I'm looking through my very long list of notes because I will forget everything. We've talked about this before the podcast about how when Rory starts at Chilton, there's this, which honestly, odd-looking dude, no offense to the actor, but the Chilton dad who asks Lorelai out, and she flat out says, I'm sorry, you're a Chilton dad. My kid goes to Chilton. I can't date you. But she can date a Chilton teacher?
Her daughter's favorite teacher?
Like, no hesitation whatsoever. None. Absolutely zero hesitation saying yes to Max, which, like, fair.
Yeah.
Max is a good-looking guy. And for a brief moment, as I was watching that first season, because I forget how much happens in the first season, I was like, wait, why do we like Luke more than Max? And then I remembered why we like Luke more than Max, because Max has a lot of shortcomings and problems. Not that Luke doesn't, but in this scenario, like...
Well, and also we don't see as much... I feel like we don't see as much Luke in the first season as we do throughout the rest of the show.
This is true. However, going back to Max and Lorelai being oblivious, the first time Luke and Max meet... Max even pegs that Luke's got the hots for Lorelai.
Yeah.
And they're having their little measuring contest, and Lorelai's like, what's going on? Like, obviously. She's like, are you guys okay? Like, no, Lorelai. Max can tell from one glance that Luke is the man in your life.
Yeah.
This is why you and Christopher should have never worked out and didn't end up working out, because even Christopher knew that Luke was the man in your life.
Yeah.
This is turning into a Luke episode.
It is. That's okay. We're going to get back to Lorelai.
Yes, back to Lorelai.
Okay. I love... Here's the thing I love about Lorelai. I love that, like, she did go and make something of herself, and that she went to business school, which is so funny because, like, she's taking night classes, but she's graduating, and it's like, she got a degree. You don't walk if you don't get a degree. So, like, she got a degree, and, like, that's really cool to me. Yeah. I love that was, like, an important part of her, like, origin story in the first... I think, is it the first 2 seasons? Yes, because I think so. Jess is there.
Yes, because the Jess of it all with the graduation.
We could have a whole podcast, the Jess of it all.
We could. Anyways. I mean, we're going to have to come up with something when we finish this podcast.
It's true. It's true. We've got lots of other shows to talk about, too.
We do.
Anyways, but, like, the fact that, like, she made that effort and put it into her life and like made it a thing because she did night classes for the whole thing. And I think it's funny later when Rory is in college because I feel like she kind of looks down at her mom because her mom didn't go to a traditional college
or didn't go to an Ivy League.
And it's like they kind of forget that she did do night school.
Well, it's like they kind of, I mean, I don't think the writers forgot. I think the point was to show how ungrateful and selfish and kind of stupid Rory was at this point.
Because she's the worst.
You know, because we see her dropping out of Yale. We see her doing all this, like because that happened when she dropped out of Yale.
Yeah.
Is when she like clapped back at her mom. Well, you don't understand. You didn't go to school. And I think it was a setup to show like Rory's a terrible person.
Yeah.
And to set up all that followed after that. Because truthfully, it's not just that Lorelai went to night school so that she could one day open her own inn. Like, first of all, she had this passion with her best friend to open their own inn.
She had the experience to do it too. She actually didn't need the degree.
She didn't, but she wanted it. And she also, regardless of what we think of the Gilmore relationship, because that's a whole episode in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
She, however she felt, she was determined to prove to herself that she didn't need Emily and Richard's money or help. That even though she quote unquote screwed up by having a baby at 16, and I quotation marks because, you know, was that a bad choice? But I mean, look at what she made out of it. But she came so far. She could have ended up homeless. She could have ended up without a job. But at 17, I would say, because it was a year after, she shows up and she's like, I will do whatever you want me to do. Just give me a job and a place to live. And she worked. She owns her house, which is a gorgeous house, by the way.
It is, and it's huge.
And to be in her 30s, like granted, it was like 90s, early 2000s, but she worked at the inn to the point that she became the manager of the Independence Inn and owns her own house and has a vehicle. And with how much money they spend at Luke's.
Yeah.
Like, it's not until later seasons when Rory's like getting close to going to college that they're quote unquote skint. She's got not necessarily wealth, but like comfort.
Yeah.
She's financially comfortable.
The fact that they don't ever cook and only eat out says a lot about how comfortable they are with money.
Exactly. And Lorelai did that on her own.
Yeah.
And that's honestly super inspiring.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, like, and the fact that, like, she had a teenage daughter that was in school, she had a full-time job, and she did night school on top of that. Like, that is impressive.
And I also, you know, she was all about doing it herself, but I also commend her for recognizing when there was a moment when it came to her kid where she couldn't do it herself. Like, I get it. Myself, I would do everything myself. I wouldn't ask for help for myself, but if it affected my kid, as much as it might be hard, I will always ask for help if I need to for my kid.
Yeah.
If like Brandon and I've talked about this, where my husband and I, we've talked about how, you know, sometimes when money is tight, like I'm fine with eating ramen for a week, but my kid needs to have food. And if Gemma, my daughter, wasn't in the picture, then it would be like, oh, we're fine, we'll figure it out. But whenever it's now we have a kid, I will do anything to make sure she has what she needs. And so Lorelai bit the bullet and went to her parents for the sake of like, this is for Rory. And she even says that to them. This isn't for me. This is for Rory.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot, I think, when you have that kind of relationship with your parents, to step up and be like, I'm not asking for help for me, but please help your granddaughter.
Yeah.
So I commend her for that. And then she did it again. Well, she didn't do it for Yale.
No.
Rory did it for Yale.
Did it for Yale.
But she set that precedent so that Rory could feel comfortable and allowed her daughter. And she told her multiple times, she's like, just because I have a bad relationship with my parents doesn't mean I want you to have a bad relationship with them. Yeah. She's apologized to her for if she stopped Rory from having a relationship with her grandparents. Whenever she got mad at Emily and Richard, she didn't want Rory to be mad at them. Like, yeah. And I think that's very mature.
Yes. Well, and also, like, Lorelai says this multiple times, too, that she wants Rory to have a relationship with Christopher. And, like, Lorelai and Christopher have, like, their Sunday night call that always takes precedence, right? And so, like, when Rory and Lorelai are upset with Christopher because he's marrying Cheery. And Rory won't talk to him anymore. And he blames Lorelai. And Lorelai's like, I have never kept your daughter away from you a day in her life.
Yep.
If it was a distance, it was you that put it there.
100%.
If she's not talking to you now, that's her choice. I am not involved in your relationship with her.
Well, and that's the funny thing too, is you bring up those Sunday night calls, which we only saw once.
Maybe twice.
And it's interesting because it just, I don't know if that was intentional on the writer's part, but from my perspective, it's like, oh, they had these standing calls. And then it's like, have you talked to your dad recently? When there's no drama going on. But like for the first several seasons, Christopher was just like maybe there, but not really, which really set, like I always got really confused in the later seasons with how much he suddenly started being around and like, which again,
he also lives closer because he's very much a kind of a nomad in the first couple seasons.
Yes. So it's just kind of interesting. But on that note, and on Lorelai's parenting, let's talk about the parenting drama with Lorelai.
Oh gosh.
Because when she's dating Max and Rory's dating Dean and Max kind of like makes a comment about like, should they be out that late or whatever it was.
Which as her fiance, they're a week away from the wedding. He has every right to ask that question.
Yeah, and he even brings up as they're that close to the wedding, like, I don't understand what my role is. And Lorelai shuts him down. You have no role. You are not her parent. You're marrying him. He is now permanently or going to permanently be a part of Rory's life, or at least however long. Like, marriage is not, oh, I'm marrying you, but your kid's not a part of it. Like, no, he's now her stepdad if they had gotten married. Like, he should have a role. And the way she shoots it down so hard. But then when Christopher has his situation with Gigi and Luke has his situation with April, Lorelai wants to insert herself, says, I have experience, I know what's going on, and then gets mad when they're like, you're not the parent, you don't get to have a say.
Yeah.
Like the hypocrisy there. Like, yes, you have experience as a parent, but that doesn't mean you have the right to like control how they parent their kids.
It's true.
Now, was Luke's situation handled very well? No.
Then
we'll talk about that.
Oh, her patience through that whole situation.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't like what she ultimately did to react to that situation. But like when she goes to Luke and is like, I can't do this anymore. This is an ultimatum. And he's like, I don't do well with this. And I'm like, dude, she has been trying for months.
Well, and I definitely I have some opinions about Luke's choice in that whole situation too. But
because April's the worst and we hate her.
No offense to the actress.
She's a wonderful actress.
She is.
The character of April is the worst and we hate her.
Yes.
That character.
Yes. Anyway.
That's a whole other episode.
I mean, this is what's going to happen. And that's fine. But like, it just, again, I think it must go back to Lorelai's obliviousness. Like how she doesn't see how her inserting herself but not letting anybody else parent, because even sometimes with Christopher she's like, I was there, I raised her, where were you? You don't get a say in this.
Yeah. And
I found that really interesting.
The only person that she doesn't initially snap back at is Luke.
Especially with the Yale thing.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I was thinking about that too. And that's the funny thing too, is like Lorelai sits there and thinks she's the only parent whenever somebody like actively tries to help her parent. But Rory was raised by that entire town.
Yes.
That entire town.
Yes, the entire town.
As evidenced by the finale episode.
Yes.
Like that entire town raised that girl.
The fact that they all wanted to go to her graduation at Yale, the entire town, to the point that they had to do a reenactment.
Yes.
Because the entire town wanted to be there for her.
Yes. And I love what Richard says at the end, where it's like, it's not just for Rory, it's for you. It's a testament to you, Lorelai.
Yeah.
Which really encompasses everything I think about Lorelai.
Yeah.
Because despite how crazy and oblivious and stupid she was sometimes, the town still rallied around her.
It's true. It's true. And I love like the episodes where Luke and Lorelai break up and like the town is divided in blue blue ribbons and pink ribbons.
Yes.
And like, because everyone like has to pick a side.
Well, and the funny thing too is that whole town is also parenting Lorelai.
Yes.
Like the way Miss Patty has been slipping wallet-sized photos of Lorelai to eligible men.
And the guys that she gets to come to the picnic
basket. Like, because she just wants Lorelai to be happy. And everyone's always worried about her being alone. And even Mrs. Kim at a point like respects Lorelai's input when it came to Lane, because Lane was always at Rory's house with Lorelai. And Lorelai, she was always safe. regardless of how Miss Kim might have felt about something, she was always safe.
Yeah.
And I really respected the moment when Lorelai was like, no, Lane, I have to tell your mom.
Yes.
Especially when she like bailed over to Yale and like moved out and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She still was like, by the way, Lane is at Yale. She's safe. Like Lorelai was a mom's mom, like a girl's girl of mom. And so even someone as like scary as Mrs. Kim could respect Lorelai as a parent. And Lorelai may have made some mistakes, and Rory was a little pain in the butt as she got older. But in the end, like Lorelai wasn't a terrible parent.
Yeah.
Which cannot be said for the other parents in the world that think they can be best friends with their kids instead of their parent.
Mm-hmm. That does remind me of a conversation I believe she has with Luke, where she's talking about, because Rory's getting older, right? And she's like, you know, when she was younger, I controlled the Pop-Tarts, I controlled the food, I controlled everything, and now I don't, and it's changed our dynamic. Like my mom card isn't as shiny as it used to be, type of a situation.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, how she didn't pull, and she would tell Rory too, like, I don't pull the mom card very often, but now I have to.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you can tell too just how Rory, like, even though they were best friends, there were clearly moments of childhood, like where Rory's afraid to tell her mom about the boy she likes. Classic teenage behavior.
Yeah.
Not that Lorelai has ever given Rory a reason to be afraid of that.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, Rory's kind of coming into this, oh wait, she's not my friend, she's my mom.
Yeah.
You know, so clearly Lorelai had established some sort of parentage.
Yeah.
With Rory in those situations. But Rory still felt safe to call her when she got arrested for stealing a yacht.
It's true.
And if nothing else, I hope my child always feels safe calling me when she does something stupid. Hopefully not that stupid, but
it's true. But also, you know, let's talk about that too a little bit, because we talked about it in the Rory episode. But like the fact that like Rory, she gets told that she's not good enough, and her reaction is to go and steal a yacht with her boyfriend. And like I actually love Lorelai's response to that whole situation. Yeah. Because Lorelai is like, what are you doing? This is not your typical behavior. But also you're now crossing into breaking laws, and this will permanently affect you if you continue on this path. And like, let's just like talk about this now, and like, let's move away from this behavior. And that's, you know, she goes to her parents. Again, she goes to her parents because she needs their help for Rory. And they're like, yes, we're going to do this together. And then Rory shows up, and then they all side with Rory. And then they just leave Lorelai out.
The doe-eyed tears.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when I think about it, like as someone who has had to learn how to deal with my own generational trauma, to be a better parent and to do responsive parenting or gentle parenting, Lorelai was gentle parenting Rory the whole time. Like with that yacht thing, she was like, once she heard what she said, first of all, she's like, I hate Mitchum, like sided with her daughter immediately because she's always going to lift her daughter up. Yeah. But then she was like, okay, but when something like that happens, you buy a pint of ice cream and you cry and you eat it. You don't go steal a yacht. Yes. You know? And so I like that in that moment, instead of yelling at her, instead of like threatening her, you know, telling her she's grounded and she can't do whatever, she just said, hey, like, let's talk about this. You know, and again, being a safe space for her daughter to make a mistake, but know that like she's not going to get hurt or abused or, you know, rejected and abandoned. And granted, she was, you know, at Yale, but still, like, I'm a grown adult and I still want my mommy sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
which another funny moment though that I really love with Lorelai and Rory is when it's Rory's first night in Yale. And she leaves, and Rory's like, come back!
And then she stays the night.
And she's like, you ruined me! Like, I can't live without my mom!
I can't live without my mommy!
But I love that, like, then Lorelai does a very Lorelai thing, and she's like, let's find all the good food places, and then they order just all of the food.
Yes. And they, like, you know, make a chart so they know, and then the next day, Rory has these friends who are like, we Lorelai'd a few places, and it's like, oh, you already found the good coffee cart. And while that's really good, it does kind of bring to mind, though, she did kind of ruin Rory, but I don't think it was Lorelai's fault. Yeah. I think growing up in a small town where everybody was looking out for her and now having to go into the big wide world, because even at Chilton, it was very small. Yes. It was very like, everybody knew your business, everybody knew what was going on. And then her teacher was dating her mom, so there was no separation. So at Yale, it's all of a sudden her first big adult moment. And I think a lot of kids feel that way when they first finally like actually move out.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know how to function. I've grown up in a home where somebody's always done everything for me or taken care of me. Now what do I do? And so it was good for her to go to Yale.
Yeah. My first night at college, I moved 2 hours away from my family. And like my parents dropped me off. And that I remember that first night being like, crap, what did I just do? And like I had a brother that lived 5 minutes away, but like he was married and like they were having a baby. And so it's like it was that first night and I was like, I don't know anyone here. I don't know anything about this town that I just moved to other than I'm living on campus. And it was one of those moments. So like I can totally relate to Rory in that moment because if I had had that type of a relationship with my parents and it wasn't 2 hours of a drive, I probably would have called them and be like, no, wait, come back. I'm not ready to be on my own.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to just suck it up and be on my own. But it was a good thing because I learned to be independent.
See, and I had the exact opposite experience because my relationship with my parents was kind of going downhill by the time I turned 18 for whatever reason, whether it was me or them or who knows, because I was 18 and I know nothing.
But you knew everything.
I just knew I was not happy in that situation. And there were many factors that I'm not going to get into because it doesn't matter anymore. But literally 2 days after my 18th birthday, I moved out. And it was like, I had I'm driving around coming back from the grocery store at 10 o'clock at night and nobody is mad at me for being late or breaking curfew or, granted, when I moved out, I pretty much immediately moved in with a boyfriend at the time. And I don't think, real talk, I don't think I've ever actually lived alone since I moved out of my parents' house. I moved in with a boyfriend. And then when we broke up or whatever, I was like alone in my apartment for like a week. And then another person moved in. And then when I moved again, my soon to be husband and I lived together. So I've never lived truly alone, but I was okay with that. But like I never had that until recent years, since becoming a mom and stuff and having a better relationship with my parents. I've never been like, I need my mommy until recently. So like I was definitely I'm ready to move out. I was Lane Kim. I am done with this nonsense. I'm moving out and into whatever situation, tiny crappy apartment with my band members.
Yes. Like you're going to be a drummer in a band.
Totally. So, yeah. But there's always pros and cons to any sort of parental relationship. And I don't think that their relationship was perfect, but I don't think that it was inherently bad either.
Yeah. And one more thing too.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I really love Lorelai as a friend. Like I love her and Suki. I even love her and Jackson's interactions.
Yeah, that one always gets me because like we live in an age where like everyone's like, if my husband was best friends with my friend, that's weird. And it's like, but you look at Lorelai and like it is the most innocent. Like she loves Suki, she loves Jackson, she loves them together. She is 100% supportive of them. And like you can trust Lorelai and Jackson to be alone together and it's not weird.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just so cute.
Yeah.
And so sweet. I don't think that can exist in real life.
It can. Only because I have a best friend and her husband, like she and I will like hang out and he's always sad if we don't hang out at their house because he's like, I want to hear Susie's stories. I want to hear what's going on in her life. And it's like, and he and I are like only friends through her. Like I met him when they got married and like, but it's a Jackson Lorelai situation.
I just think it's cute.
And I love seeing it because we don't hear a lot about those types of friendships where your best friend and their husband is also your friend through that whole, like you're all family together type thing. And I love that because like when Lorelai is freaking out about Luke, she goes to their house and they just let her stay there. Like she just sleeps there and they're like, we don't know what's going on. We just know that she needs a place to land and we're happy to be that place.
Yeah. And I know it's interesting too, because like thinking on the show, I think Lorelai tries to do that with a lot of people in her life. Like she tries to be friendly with the lawyer that Luke's dating. She tries to be involved and friendly because she recognizes like Luke is kind of a constant part of her life. And so any person who's in his life is going to be a part of her life, and so later when like Anna Nardini has a whole freak out anyway, it's just interesting because Lorelai was doing everything in her power to do the right thing.
Yes.
In these relationships, she recognized how people were feeling, which is so funny because she's so oblivious everywhere.
It's true.
But
she's oblivious unless she's not, and then she's like hyper aware. It's like one or the other. There's no middle ground for Lorelai.
No middle ground. On that note, I just saw a note of mine for her. There's not a ton of notes on Lorelai unless they're related to other things that will have to come up in other episodes.
Yeah.
But there is a point where Lorelai is not necessarily oblivious, but just, I don't know that prejudiced is the word, but set in her opinion of someone that she refuses to believe any other option. And that is the time when Jess and Rory go out and Jess is driving her car and the car gets wrecked. And Lorelai just immediately assumes that because Jess is this punk kid that he purposely wrecked Rory's car.
Yeah.
And no matter what Rory tells her, Jess is a bad guy. And she tells Luke that, and she's like, he wrecked her car. And like that essentially like Luke, to kind of keep the peace, he cares about Jess, but to keep the peace with the whole Rory Lorelai thing, he believes Jess because he goes to the lake or whatever,
and finds Jess,
and Jess says, "I made sure she was okay." And you can tell in that moment, like Luke was like, "I know that whatever you say happened is the truth."
Yeah,
and Lorelai is overreacting, and it just blew my mind. Like, I get it. I don't much care for Jess either. If my daughter was dating a kid like that, I'd probably have some struggles with that. But I would like to think my first reaction when my kid gets in a car accident is not what did he do, but what happened.
Yeah.
And the explanation is there was an animal in the road, Jess tried to avoid it. And we all know, especially if you live in an area with deer, that when you swerve to avoid something, you are more likely to wreck your car, which is why you should hit things head on. No, that's what I was raised, how I was raised, because in Montana, all those mountain roads, we also had a lot of town deer, but it was all, you were always told, don't swerve to avoid the deer. You are more likely to survive if you just hit it head on.
Yeah.
So like it ran into a pole. Jess wasn't out joyriding in her car. Jess wasn't trying to wreck her car. He wasn't even driving recklessly. But Lorelai was just like, nope, Jess is a punk. He wrecked the beautiful car Dean made for you. He's wrecked your whole relationship with Dean. He's a problem. He's bad. He's awful. And that, I could not like Lorelai in that moment.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. It didn't matter it was Jess or who it was. Like, her refusal to think past her assumptions of Jess, which I think Jess reminded her of Christopher.
I think so too.
And I think that might have been part of the problem.
Which is funny because he is not at all like
Dean is more like Christopher.
Dean is more like Christopher. We love Dean so much.
Just like we love Christopher so much. So I think that was one of those few moments where I was like, I cannot like you right now. You know, and frankly, because that happened, didn't that happen after Rory? No, because he left then. Because Rory misses her graduation for Jess.
Yeah, that's when he leaves.
Yeah, he leaves because of the car and then later. Okay. But yeah, I just, in that moment, I was like, at a certain point, Lorelai, you've got to calm down and be a little rational. And yeah, Jess is a punk, but nothing he had ever done made it seem like he was someone who was going to go deliberately wreck a car. Yeah. He wasn't a cushy for a joyrider.
Especially because he always cared about Rory.
Absolutely. He wasn't going to hurt her. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through my notes again. We reach a point where like Lorelai doesn't really exist anymore in my notes. Nope, because that's about Christopher. A lot of my Lorelai notes towards the end are about Christopher. So,
well, especially towards the end of the show, because there's
so
a lot of Lorelai Christopher-ness.
I mean, I could bring this little bit up, you know, in contrast to the Jess thing where she could only see the bad. She absolutely refuses to see anything bad about Christopher by the end. She is constantly defending everything he does to everyone else.
It's true.
And I'm just like, the way this woman is hot or cold.
It's true. Well, and I think part of it, we will have to talk about this at the end with Christopher, because like she kind of idealizes him, even though she doesn't want to marry him.
And then she did anyway.
And then she did. But like before the second season, when he finally has his life together-ish, supposedly. I mean, he actually has like a steady job, and let's be real, it's because of Cheery.
Oh, like, absolutely.
Cheery's the reason he has a stable
I cannot
job.
wait to talk about Cheery.
Yes. But just how like she kind of idealizes him, and he's kind of like it for her until she actually walks down that path.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember, is it Suki that brings it up? That's like, if Luke didn't exist, would it be Christopher?
Probably. I mean, Suki was always that one. As goofy and silly as she was, she always had those insightful moments with Lorelai.
Uh-huh.
Like, I want to know how long they had been friends.
Yeah.
Because, like, when did Lorelai and Suki meet? To the point that they're so close that they want to open an inn together, that they are best friends.
It's true.
Like, that can't, I mean, it could have been in an adult established relationship, but I really believe they had to have met not long after Lorelai, little 17, 18-year-old Lorelai came into town.
Well, because I think they talk about how they met at the inn.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the details of it now. Dang it.
No.
I don't want to go back.
I don't feel like they talk about it that much.
I don't think they do either.
I might have to do a deep
dive. It's
dive.
kind of established.
Because we'll have to talk about Suki.
Yeah.
She's
Suki's
phenomenal.
a whole episode.
She's my favorite.
Yeah, I love Suki too.
Melissa McCarthy in general is just phenomenal. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Lorelai. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, overall, like I said, I don't think, other than a few moments, that I really have anything bad to say about Lorelai. I think that she was honestly the most real person on the show.
Especially, I was just remembering when her and Luke are broken up and she calls him and leaves that message, and then she like goes to break into his house to delete it, but he already heard it and went to her house to make sure she was okay. And then she like has to like give him back his tape.
See, and I remembered that scene, but I also thought Rory did that when she left that message on the machine for Jess. And so when it didn't happen in that episode, I was like, I thought they both did it.
No,
I thought she would like go home and tell her mom she left this awful message, and she's like, we have to go get it and delete it. But I apparently just meshed the Lorelai one. But
oh man. Well, and how real in that moment too. Like, have we like left a message or sent a text or done something when afterwards we're like, oh crap, that was the absolute last thing I didn't want to do. And then like you have to face it. Yeah. And then you're like, oh,
I don't know what you're talking about. It must have, that text, I must have hit the like talk to text and it recorded something on the, I actually had a moment like that and it worked out for me. And it was recently because my husband and I had a pretty significant disagreement and I sent him a video message, but it sent on my end. He never got it. And frankly, like it wasn't a bad, like I wasn't angry in the message. It was just like me kind of word vomiting all of these feelings and stuff that was way too much to do in a video message and very overwhelming. And it was on my phone. I could see it, but it never got to his phone. And I was like, cool, delete.
The universe was like, she doesn't need it.
She doesn't need to have that conversation with you right
now.
He
doesn't need to see that video.
So
I'm glad the universe is looking out for you.
Like I said, it wasn't a bad video, but it clearly was just like, that was not what was needed in that highly emotionally charged moment.
Yeah.
Oh, a day when you could just delete answering machine messages. Now, once it's sent, you're done.
It's true. Steal someone's tape. Although that's breaking and entering. And
it would only work in a small town like Stars Hollow.
It's true. Oh, man. And because they were dating, she knew how to get into his house.
Yes.
Like,
I would say about the only other thing I can think about with Lorelai is this kind of reoccurring theme with the men in her life of marriage being a solution.
Yeah.
To a problem. Max is like, we're fighting, let's get married.
Yeah.
In Paris, Christopher is like, we're together now, let's just get married. You know, I think Luke and Lorelai is the only time where the marriage isn't the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
Like they're actually trying.
Although she proposes when Rory steals the boat.
So it's a solution to Lorelai's problem. But
I love that she's like, will you marry me? And he's like, yes. And then, but then I love that like they're engaged unofficially. And then as things like kind of settle down, they're both like, we want this, but not yet.
Yeah.
As opposed to all the other times where it's like, let's just get married. And then they move forward with it and they kind of like rush through it. Whereas with Luke and Lorelai, it's kind of the opposite problem. They kind of wait too long and keep putting other things in the way.
Getting in the way.
Yes.
Which it's funny because then you think about the contrast between like all of these like solution to a problem proposals. And then you think about Suki and Jackson's proposal.
Yes.
And how it's like, he's been trying to hint at her for a while about moving in. And then all this stress. And he's like, then let's just get married. And she's like, what? Like, because Suki is about as oblivious as Lorelai sometimes.
Yes.
But his version of it wasn't, it's a solution to a problem. It was, my lease is up. I want to be with you and either move in with me or get married to me. It solves both our problems.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't him trying to find a solution to the problem. It was him saying, I do love you.
This is what I want in my life. I am committed to you. And this is like, I'm trying to take the next step in this commitment that we already have made.
Yes. Whereas like with Max and Lorelai, it was, they're fighting all the time. They didn't know each other.
No, they
all.
didn't.
They were just physical.
Yes.
And then Max was like, well, then let's get married. And no wonder she ran away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shocked she made it to a week before the wedding.
Oh my gosh, right? Like, yeah. Like Max, I mean, okay, I struggle with Scott Cohen because the first thing I saw him in was 10th Kingdom.
Oh my gosh.
Where he's a wolf and it's so wolfy. Cheesy. Yeah. And it's like, all I could see when I saw him in Gilmore Girls was him as the wolf, and it was not a good memory. And so I was like, I don't want him to be long term. So my initial reaction to Max was not great. But I learned to love him. But like watching it on this last rewatch, I was like, from the beginning, like, oh, so many red flags. Like, so many. That's not just one or two. Like, their whole relationship is just red flags for each other.
See, and I have to laugh because I saw Gilmore Girls before I ever saw 10th Kingdom. Like, I had been through 3 rewatches of Gilmore Girls, and then I saw 10th Kingdom, and I was like, what's Max Medina doing here? And it was so cringy still, because I have Max Medina Chilton teacher, and I'm like,
as Wolfie. Oh my gosh.
So weird.
Oh my gosh.
It's secondhand embarrassment, but it was great. I love that show.
Oh, yes.
See, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to spin off Gilmore Gab into shows that Gilmore Girl characters are in.
I mean, we could do that for years.
We could. I don't see why we shouldn't.
That might be our next one. We've got a lot of ideas.
We do.
Let's add that to the list.
On the list. Yeah, no, and it's just interesting too, because parallel to Max and Christopher is neither of them actually knew Lorelai.
True.
I mean, Max was trying to get her to read Proust, and like she asked, but like I think he had these expectations of her to be something more than she was, and never really looked at her for who she was.
Yes.
And later down the line, Christopher kind of does the same thing. Like when they were married in Stars Hollow, I remember they're walking through the grocery store. She's putting Pop-Tarts in. He's taking them out. She puts marshmallows. He takes them out. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, you need to eat healthier. Have you met her?
Right? She's going on 16 years of eating this way. You think you're going to change her now? Although at that point, it's like 18, 20 years.
Yeah. Like, and everything he was, like the way he insisted on a TV, like a new TV, and like all this stuff. It was like, it was all about him. And it's like, do you even know Lorelai? Meanwhile, something bad happens in their life. Luke shows up with all their favorite foods.
Yes.
They don't even have to order when they walk into the diner. He knows what mood food will help them.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Luke never tried to change her.
Yes.
And that's...
He would suggest vegetables from time to time. And she would
just...
But he knew full well that it was never going to... And he's like, I do my best. I offer. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
And then he gives them, what they're actually going to eat.
Yeah, but he does what a good friend would do, which is give them grief about it.
Yes.
And in a loving way.
Yes.
So.
And never tries to like push anything on them. Yeah.
I mean, but Luke's a good guy. But this episode is about Lorelai.
It's true. It's true. But I think for Christopher, Lorelai was also idealized to him as well. I think they idealized each other.
They were 16.
And they had a kid, I think that...
They never got out of that mentality for each other.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even imagine being remotely interested in the guy that I thought I was in love with in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Today.
And if I run into any of those people now, I run away.
Absolutely. Like,
I'm like, I don't want to ever talk to you.
No. I am a completely different person now.
I have avoided high school reunions for this very reason.
I never even heard of my 10-year high school reunion. Nobody reached out to me, so I was like, cool.
I lived in my small town for a lot of years after. Like, I went to college away. I spent several years away, but then I ended up moving back to my now it's like, it's a small city now, but it was a small town and like everybody knew everybody. And like, at first I hated it because I kept running into people that I knew from high school and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so like I can't get away from it still because like my parents still live in that town.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those things where it's like I don't really actually want to see any of you people, and I try to pretend that I don't exist when I'm there.
I know, frankly, Helena, Montana is very not like a Smallest Stars Hollow, but it's kind of everybody knows you there. Like growing up, I could say my dad's name and most people knew him just because he was well known in like the construction community or people knew my mom. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know, thank you. And then like everybody knew me at a certain point, like in certain circles when I was an adult living there. And so like moving back this way, it's like, it's nice living somewhere where people don't know you.
Yeah.
Or know you because of other people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Living in a small town like that where everybody knows you it has its pros. It definitely has its cons.
Oh yeah.
For me, and like I did not live in a town nearly as small as Stars Hollow. Like my town is now a city, and there's a lot of people that live there. When I was younger, though, like I could say my last name and people would know either my siblings or my parents, just because. And my parents have lived in that city for 50 years, so like they've lived there a really long time. So people still know who they are, but like. I'm kind of grateful that it's not a Stars Hollow situation, that I can go home and disappear.
Yeah, I mean, every time I watch the show, sometimes I wish I lived in a tiny Stars Hollow because I love that community vibe. But I definitely don't love everybody being in my business.
Yeah, I don't need a Miss Patty.
I'm a little torn.
Or a Babette.
I don't know. Personally, I would love a Miss Patty in my life. I could probably do without Babette. Love her as a character, but like that was a lot. But like, even in the later seasons, like there's something about Miss Patty that I just love. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I do think though, going back to the whole like Lorelai and Christopher, I think the big issue there too was they were idealizing the 16-year-old selves of them, like of each other. But Lorelai actually grew up a lot quicker because she was dealing with the baby and she was on her own.
And she was working full time constantly. She kept a job.
And Christopher was he didn't leave his parents at 16.
No.
He lived that rich boy life. And even when he became an adult, until Sherry made him settle down, and then the baby made him settle down, because then he didn't live Lorelai's life until he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
When he had Gigi.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the problem came in, is that he was still 16 up until that point.
Yeah.
He was still that rich kid doing whatever he wanted, didn't have to be stable or steady. And then the minute he got stable with Gigi and having to figure things out, suddenly he thinks, well, now I have my life together. I get it. We can be together.
Yeah.
And Lorelai is kind of like, it's great that you got your life together. But in her head, I think she still liked that like rebellious rich kid and knew that that wasn't the right fit for her where she was in her life.
Yeah.
She needed a Luke who was stable, who had a job, who had money. The man was going to give her $10,000.
He did. He did give her
buy a house or fix a house.
Oh yeah.
He was gonna. I mean, like he owns his, and I love how he brings that up because Christopher, Richard, or somebody made a comment about, he works in a diner and he goes, I own that diner.
Yeah,
which is a big flex.
Yeah.
Like, owning a business is hard.
Not only does he own that diner, it is a successful diner because he outright buys the building.
Yeah, so Taylor can't do it. And then Taylor has to pay him rent for his ice cream shop.
But he outright just buys it.
Because he can.
Who has that kind of money?
Who has that kind of financial literacy to be in a position to have that kind of money? I know. I wish I did.
Oh, gosh, me too.
Like, I'm sitting over here being like, every time I have extra dollar bills, I put them in a jar, and that's my savings. I think I have $42 in ones right now. And all my spare change goes to my daughter in her piggy bank, and it's like at $100. So yeah, she's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that it's just, again, it goes back to what we started the episode with, of Lorelai like growing up and getting a degree and maturing and looking at it through that lens, recognizing why Christopher was never going to be right for her, why Max wouldn't be right for her, why, no name, well, sort of name. I was trying to track when Alex left the picture.
Yes, because I was like, he just disappears.
And he does, and he doesn't. because they make a mention of it, of like him, like Rory's like, and how's Alex? And Lorelai's like, we haven't seen each other in a while. I don't know where that's going. And I think that was kind of the hint of like, it's fizzling. So I don't think they completely forgot about him.
I think it's because he got Twilight, because he's Charlie in Twilight.
I've never seen Twilight, and I'm going to hold on to that power.
You do it. But he is the reason, if you ever watch Twilight, he is the reason you watch that show. The rest of it is absolute trash.
I am now realizing that we might have to for the spin-off of the fact that he was on Gilmore Girls.
Oh my gosh. We're going to do
everything I have seen or learned about Twilight has been against my will.
As I was once a Twihard for a hot minute when the final books were coming out, I went and saw the midnight premiere of Twilight. And when you read the books, Charlie is he's not a really strong character. He didn't stand out to me, but the guy that plays Alex in Gilmore Girls, I forgot his name at the moment.
I looked it up last time we had this conversation.
But the actor that plays him, Billy Burke, is his name.
There you go. I didn't even have to look it up.
Yes, Billy Burke plays Alex in Gilmore Girls, and he is Charlie Swan in Twilight. He does a phenomenal job. It is probably one of his best roles, which is so sad. It got wasted on Twilight, but I love him in it. Like, there's a part where Bella tells him that Edward is coming over to pick her up, and he's literally cleaning his gun. And she's like, he's coming to pick me up for a date. And he like pops the gun, and it's a shotgun. He's like, well, bring him in. And she's like, I need you to be nice. And he's like pointing at his face. He's like, this is my nice face. Like, bring him in. If you watch Twilight, watch it for Billy Burke alone, because he is a phenomenal Charlie. He made me like Charlie because of his portrayal of him. So when I rewatched Gilmore Girls, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Charlie Swan.
Okay, I feel like this is the perfect segue towards the end of this episode.
Yes.
So we do know that Gilmore Girls is very known for all of its little like pop culture references and also book references and things like that. So Twilight is a pop culture thing. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Lorelai would have been a fan of Twilight? I can't remember if they brought it. I thought they had brought it up in the show, but I don't know if they.
It would have had to be the revival.
Oh, yeah, because it would have been later. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you think Lorelai would have been a fan of Twilight?
I feel like she would have,
but also would like mock it in front of other people.
Yes. I mean, I feel like she would like embrace it for like the vampireness of it, but I think she also would have made fun of it. I mean,
respectfully.
Yes.
I could see her throwing a jab at Dean with the good hair.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And then here's the next question. Would Lorelai be Team Edward or Team Jacob?
That's a tough one. I feel like she'd be Team Jacob.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. Even Robert Pattinson isn't Team Edward.
Robert Pattinson is not Team Twilight in general.
No, he's not. He regrets that role entirely. But that's okay, because true fans know him as Cedric Diggory from Harry Potter.
That's right.
And also the new Batman.
Yeah, we're not getting into that.
I don't watch Batman.
We don't have enough hours in the day to discuss that movie. I am a huge comic book nerd. If the people listening did not know that, I have read so many Batman comics, so we're not touching that. He's a decent Bruce Wayne, which is hard to do. Mm-hmm. And his Batman, I blame the filmmakers for that one. But
I think the last Batman I saw was when I was a small child, and I was, an 89, 90s baby.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen that Batman.
Michael Keaton?
When the Penguin was...
that movie's like terrifying.
I loved it as a kid. I watched it over and over again. The Penguin was my favorite, and Jack Nicholson is the Joker. And the what's her name? The blonde girl who's Catwoman. Like those ones I've seen. I didn't
Michelle
see
Pfeiffer.
I did not see past those ones with that Catwoman, that Joker, and is it Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito's the Penguin.
Yeah, I hadn't seen like the Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Poison Ivy and all that. I hadn't seen those, but those are the last time I ever watched a Batman film. Was those when I was a small child?
Yeah. Speaking of actors that did not like her role.
We've gotten way off topic. I love it.
But I love, speaking of those Batman movies, George Clooney was Batman.
Oh.
And even he has been like, I was not right for that role.
Yeah.
And that is like, everyone agrees that is like the most abominable of the Batman movies, is where George Clooney was Bruce Wayne and Batman. And it's so funny. But like I don't love those movies either. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because in the last Flash movie, he shows up as Bruce Wayne again. And I was like, hold on, what?
Clearly, we have many things we'll need to podcast about.
We do.
All right. Anyways. Any final thoughts on Lorelai?
Lorelai's pretty great.
Yes, I agree. But I do think her relationship with her parents needs a deeper analysis when we talk about Emily and Richard.
I was like, we'll get into that with her parents.
Yes.
Yeah. In watching this, and I've mentioned this to you in person, but in watching this, I've never connected more with Emily Gilmore as I did on this rewatch.
100%.
And she was not the villain I remembered her being.
The amount of times in my notes I say poor Emily or poor Richard. Like, oh.
Yes.
That if there is any other moment where I am not a fan of Lorelai, it is the way she handled her relationship with her parents.
Yes. But I love how it improves over the show.
Yes.
Because that last episode when her parents show up in Stars Hollow.
Oh my gosh.
Or even in the revival.
I managed not to cry for the first time ever watching that last episode.
I did not. I cried.
But only because my daughter was sitting next to me and she gets really worried when I cry.
I almost teared up when you mentioned Richard being like, this is a testament to you too. I almost teared up while recording this today.
I'm tearing up now.
Yes.
Like I started to tear up, and that's when I texted you. I was like, I'm on the last episode of trying not to cry. I honestly, I might have also had my other my nephew that day too.
Yeah.
So I was like, I cannot start crying in front of two little children.
It's
One
true.
who my daughter is very empathetic and gets very concerned when I'm crying. So I try not to cry over quote unquote stupid things in front of her, because she'll be like, Mommy, what's wrong? Why do you watch things that make you cry?
Yeah.
It's a good cry.
Yeah.
I remember the last time I watched it when I first heard the revival was coming out. I did a rewatch, and it was like I finished it a week or so before the revival officially launched. And I remember,
terrible idea. In hindsight, a terrible idea.
I remember when I watched that episode, and when it ended, I'm one of those people where if something really upsets me and I'm crying, I just pace my house and I'm crying and I'm like, why was it so good? And I'm just and my husband was at work that night, so I'm just pacing my tiny little house, like apartment, crying about the Gilmore Girls finale. I did the same thing when I read, oh my gosh, the Allegiant series.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read it. If you don't want to know how it ends, don't keep listening.
I haven't read them, but go ahead.
I know you wouldn't care. The main character dies in the last book, and I was furious and crying. Fair. And this always happens. I was like, where I'm not in a place where I can cry. I was nannying at the time, and the kids were napping.
Oh god!
And all I wanted to do was throw the book and cry, and I just paced around. And like tears, like, why did you kill her? I hate you. And then I read because there's 3 books in the series, and then they have another book called 4, which is the name of one of the characters. So it's the story told from his perspective, but it's only 1 book instead of 3.
Yeah.
And that helped a little bit. But like, I felt the same way when they killed off Sirius and Harry Potter. So
I was going to say that too. I was babysitting when I read that. And I had like 7 children that oh my gosh, I could not cry. And I was
so worried.
Well, and it didn't actually sink in that he was dead because he just falls through a stupid veil.
Right, and she never explains that. Anyway,
and he's just gone.
We cannot go off on this tangent.
Anyways, Lorelai's great.
Lorelai's great.
We've got a lot more to talk about later.
So tune in next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
The Gilmore Gab is created and produced by Rachel Flewellen and Susie Carmichael. Music by Kevin MacLeod. Follow us on Instagram at Gilmore Gab Podcast and sign up for our newsletter on Substack. You can also subscribe to our paid Substack for early access to new episodes and exclusive content. The Gilmore Girls show and characters are the exclusive property of Warner Brothers Entertainment. Warner Brothers Entertainment is not affiliated with, nor does it endorse, the Gilmore Gab Podcast.